Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto trained himself instead of wasting time with Jiraiya? Part 4. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Sakura makes a valid point. I also recommend Naruto and his wives be separated from each other so that their behavior can be observed when they interact with other shinobi of the village so as to truly ascertain their loyalties and good intentions towards the village. Essentially, that is to say, I recommend Naruto be returned to Team 7, and if the resources are available, Yuya and Fu also be separated and made to join two different four-man teams. If the manpower is not available, they can remain together, but the two trustworthy Jonin join them in order to form a four-man team. Jiraiya suggested. This guy just extracted himself from the whole equation. Everyone here is making self-serving recommendations under the guise of impartiality. Tamari thought with disgust. I trust you, Jiraiya, and I know you wouldn't lie to me and that you have no sinister intentions. However, I also trust Naruto. I trust him with my life and believe in everything Tamari said about him. I am, however, the Hokage, and as Hokage, I have to be impartial in my decision making. It is for that reason, and that reason alone, that I accept your recommendation. Yamato, show yourself. Tsunade ordered authoritatively, a man with short, brown, unkempt hair appearing in front of the Hokage, prostrating himself as he knelt down submissively in front of the Hokage. The man, known as Yamato, is of average height, around 1.78 meters, wearing the standard attire of the Anbu, a black, sleeveless jumper under a gray flak jacket with strapped-up shinobi sandals, arm-length gloves with guards over them. He is carrying a sword strapped to his back, a mask that resembles a cat's face covered in green, and red intricate markings, and has the Anbu tattoo on his left shoulder. I serve at your will and whim, Godime-sama. The man said with a masculine but also soft-spoken tone of voice. Take off your mask and stand up straight. Tsunade ordered, Yamato doing as ordered without any hesitation. You have a new mission. You are now officially the captain of Team 15, consisting of Yamato Taicho, Kato Shizune, Uzumaki Yuya, and Uzumaki Fu. Tsunade ordered with authority. As you command, Godime-sama. Yamato said with a small bow of the head. Wait. Kato Shizune. But that's me. Shizune exclaimed in surprise. I know that. Don't interrupt me to tell me something so obvious. Tsunade said angrily. But Tsunade-sama. That's an order. Tsunade exclaimed uncompromisingly. Are you not satisfied with my work as your assistant? Shizune asked with a broken heart. Of course I am. You're the best thing that ever happened to me since your brother. God damn it, Shizune, just do what I'm telling you to do. You're like a daughter to me, and Naruto is like a son to me. That makes you Naruto's big sister. He is married to two people that we know practically nothing about besides the fact that they are insanely powerful kunoichi. Don't you care about Naruto? Of course I care about him. You're not the only one that loves him. Shizune replied testily. Exactly. I'm putting you in a position that will allow you to look out for him. No one is more critical of a man's wife than the mother and sisters-in-law. If there's something fishy about them, you're the most likely person to identify it. I can't be the one to do it for obvious reasons. I'm the Hokage, I can't be in a ninja squad. Tsunade retorted. Besides, you've spent your whole life following me around and doing my bidding. You've never even been in a team of your own and made any friends. Your own childhood was lost so that you can take care of me. It's time I released you and allowed you to have a life of your own. I can't be selfish anymore, not when it comes to you. Tsunade thought, deciding not to voice those thoughts however as she knew that Shizune would resist and argue against her take on the situation. I understand, Godime-sama. But who will take care of you while I'm gone? Shizune asked with concern. I'll find another assistant. Besides, it's about time I grew up, isn't it? I can't be a child that needs taking care of forever, can I? Tsunade retorted, Shizune giving her a skeptical look but nonetheless accepting the Hokage's orders. Very well. I shall do as you command, Godime-sama. Shizune said with determination. Good. Yamato, you are hereby ordered to find Uzumaki Naruto and his wives, and report these developments to them. Naruto is ordered, by me, to resume his duties and obligations to Team 7, effective immediately. Also tell them that their Jonin promotion assigned to them by Lord Reikage is hereby confirmed by order of the Hokage. Congratulations are in order, and they have made Konoha proud. Tsunade said with a serious tone. Consider it done, Godime-sama. By your leave, Yamato said humbly. Dismissed. Tsunade said as Yamato disappeared immediately after in order to fulfill his duties. Troublesome. Naruto is not going to be happy about this. Shikamaru thought out loud, anticipating a lot of noise and argument between Naruto and the Hokage. He better get used to it, because it's happening whether he likes it or not. Sakura said triumphantly. I wouldn't go celebrating just yet if I were you. You and I have a lot to talk about. Tsunade said with a dangerous edge to her tone, an audible gulp involuntarily escaping Sakura's throat as her anal sphincter began quivering uncontrollably, knowing from past experiences that Tsunade only spoke to her in that tone when a painful whooping was coming her way. Hi, T Tsunade Shishio. Sakura stuttered. You too, Kakashi. I would have words with you, so God help me if you dare to arrive late when I call on you. Tsunade said furiously. Hi, Godime-sama. Kakashi replied, sweating nervously as he had never had so much anger directed at him by Godime-sama before. Anyway, as for your team, you are a man short. That's not good, especially with Naruto being hunted by Akatsuki. I'm hence temporarily assigning Mitarashi Anko as the fourth member of Team 7, up until Uchiha Sasuke is retrieved, rehabilitated, and re-inducted into the Konoha Ninja Corps. Tsunade ordered. What? That scary snake lady. She almost killed Naruto last time they met. She's not compatible at all. Is it even safe for any of us to be in a team with her? Sakura asked, the blood draining from her face as she had images of the whole team being held down by giant snakes while Anko played with them, by played with them meaning that she was cutting deep into their flesh and drinking their blood. What are you talking about? I heard they hit it off pretty well with Naruto during the Chunin exams 3 years ago. Tsunade retorted. What? Shishio? She threw a kunai at his face and licked the blood off of it as soon as they met. She's crazy. Sakura argued vehemently. That, actually might mean that she likes him. Anko is my best friend, I know her better than anyone. I know it's weird, but that was probably her way of showing affection. Kurenai replied, turning Sakura into a stuttering mess as she now wondered what the hell Anko did to people she actually hated if that is how she treats people she likes. Listen, Sakura, as of 6 months ago, you all know about Naruto's upbringing in Konoha, and about his lineage too. Needless to say, Sarutobi-sensei failed Naruto and his parents completely, so did Jiraiya. And so did I. Naruto has lived his whole life as a solitary pariah. Anko knows a great deal about that because of her own dark past. She is someone who can understand and possibly get through to Naruto, better than both you and Kakashi. Furthermore, she's a torture and interrogation expert. If there's anything fishy about Naruto regarding his dramatic growth and change, she'll likely be the first one to notice. Tsunade explained her reasoning. What dark past? What happened in her past? Does it have something to do with Orochimaru? I couldn't help but notice her snake summons. Sakura asked curiously. She's your teammate now. She will tell you about it, or she will not. Either way, it's up to her. Tsunade retorted. Hi, Shishio. Sakura said with a subdued tone of voice. Good. Now, let us discuss what we saw in the Jonin promotion exams. Kakashi, what did you think of Naruto and his wives? Do you think you could stop them if they tried to attack the village or if they tried to defect? Tsunade asked curiously. No, Tsunade-sama. I am not convinced at all that I could do it. I have a trump card I could try and use, but given their speed and their sensory perception, it seems unlikely that even that would work. I haven't seen someone move that fast since Minato-sensei. With preparation and a well-planned ambush it might be possible, but then again, penetrating Naruto's armor seems like an unlikely achievement even with the Reikiri, even if I were to somehow immobilize him. Kakashi replied analytically. So not impossible, just extremely difficult. Tsunade replied. It would take a collective, well-coordinated effort, with a specialized skill set. Kakashi replied. I see. Tsunade said thoughtfully. What about you, Guy? You are the leading taijutsu expert in Konoha, the famed green beast. With your celestial gates technique, could you handle Naruto or his wives? Tsunade asked curiously. I cannot say for sure, Hokage-sama. They have excellent taijutsu skills and whatever they lack in experience they make up for with raw talent and sensory perception. I have never faced anyone who could handle my celestial gates and survive, but I have also not fought someone of the caliber of Lord Reikage. I do not know how my celestial gates would fare against his nintaijutsu. I do however suspect that I am at a complete disadvantage in the endurance department. As you know, when I open the gates, my body is put under an enormous strain. If we are evenly matched, then I will likely lose the battle as I will get weaker as time goes by until I cannot even fight back anymore. Guy replied with a calm and analytical voice, the new generation surprised by this side of him as they had never seen him not talk at the top of his lungs before, apart from his own team of course. Don't bother to ask me, Godime-sama. I can't think of a single thing I could do to defeat them. I understand that no one is invincible, but these are not people I would fancy mine and my team's chances against. These aren't normal shinobi. These are the kind of people who become cages and become entrenched in shinobi folklore. I do however believe that genjutsu is an option that hasn't been considered. Last time I checked Naruto was a complete dud when it comes to genjutsu. Asuma said before the Hokage could even ask him. That won't do. Genjutsu did not work on Uzumaki Tayuya when Godspeed C tried to use it, allegedly because of some kind of Uzumaki barrier and sealing arts technique. If Naruto really went to the old Uzu ruins and discovered their hidden knowledge, and he really created this video recording and projection seal from scratch, then it's safe to say that he has made sure that their minds and senses are genjutsu and even mind transfer proof. Kurenai retorted. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's why I ruled out Sharingan genjutsu, though it might be worth it to confirm it somehow. Kakashi retorted. It won't work. Naruto told me about those barrier and sealing techniques. I don't believe he was lying, and the kind of person that he is now, he doesn't leave anything to chance. He is a very meticulous and careful planner. A perfectionist. Jiraiya deadpanned. Nevertheless, I wouldn't suggest any of you try anything anyway. We don't want to alienate Naruto any more than we have. Because of his situation, Naruto is destined to clash with Uchiha Sasuke and Uchiha Itachi, both people with incredible genjutsu potential. Let's allow them to test that genjutsu hypothesis for us. Tsunade suggested, though it was more of an order than anything else really. Isn't that dangerous though? I mean, teams spar each other all the time. It's a normal part of training. Can Kakashi-sensei not organize a sparring session for the team and then use Sharingan genjutsu on Naruto? That's hardly an action that could alienate Naruto in any manner whatsoever. It's normal for a team captain to want to evaluate the strength level and capabilities of his or her teammates in order to develop effective combat formations and strategies. Asuma said rationally. The problem is that Naruto went out of his way to make sure a sparring session was not necessary to determine the extent of his abilities by handing this video recording seal to Tsunade-sama. He must have anticipated that Tsunade-sama would share the video at least with Sakura and Kakashi-sensei. Ino retorted. That is irrelevant. Why? Because even though Sakura-san and Kakashi-sensei now know about the extent of Naruto and his wife's abilities, we can assume with relative certainty that Naruto however no longer knows what Sakura-san is capable of after not seeing her for 3 years. Furthermore, Team 7 now has a new team member, which all the more necessitates the use of sparring sessions to assess and evaluate team dynamics and to construct effective tactics and strategies. Shino retorted. That's not entirely true, Shino. You're still a Chunin, so it's understandable that you would come to that conclusion. However, Team 7 now has 3 Jonin level ninja, as Naruto himself has been promoted to the rank of Jonin. That means that Kakashi-san is no longer his Jonin sensei, as Naruto is now his equal. Kakashi-san, as opposed to being the Jonin sensei of the team, is now the captain of the team. The dynamics are completely different. He cannot order Naruto to spar if he doesn't want to. He cannot make him reveal his secrets if Naruto does not want. The requirement is to share basic knowledge about each other in that kind of team. For example, I would tell the captain that I am Hyuga Neji, that I wield the Byakugan, and that I specialize in taijutsu, although I do have some long-range techniques. I would then tell him the nature affinities I can use and to what extent I can use them, and that would be it. I do not have to tell him or her any more than that. Neji explained in detail. What Neji said is true. A ninja must never reveal his secrets, nor can he be compelled to. There are various reasons for this. One of them is that the unfortunate reality is that sometimes there are traitors amongst us. Some ninja have infiltrated the village and are working as spies for other ninja villages, and some just end up defecting for one reason or another. Therefore, for security purposes, a ninja is permitted to protect the secrecy of his or her trump cards in the event that they are betrayed and end up having to fight their own comrades. Tsunade explained for the sake of the Chunin in the room. I can't believe I was so naive. Why didn't I think of this? I just assumed that Naruto was suspiciously in a hurry to become Hokage. Not once did I consider the other benefits of him becoming a Jonin. This has to be the real reason he was so desperate for that Jonin promotion for him and his wives, in order to better protect their secrets. Jiraiya thought darkly. I can't believe Naruto was the first one of our graduation class to become a Jonin. It's just so surreal. How has he become so strong and so smart? How could he have grown so much in such a short span of time? Ino asked in disbelief. Jonin, I think you're understating everything, Ino. We just saw him go toe-to-toe with one of the 5 Kage and it even looked like he was winning. He's not a Jonin-level ninja, he's a Kage-level ninja. He's doing everything he said he would do. None of us actually believed he could do it, much less at such a young age. I suppose if you think about it holistically it makes a lot of sense. He's the son of the Yondaime freaking Hokage, unanimously acknowledged as the strongest of all the Kage. That alone would give him crazy potential, but he is also a Jinchuriki and he supposedly comes from a clan that rivals the Senju in both name and ability. He's literally royalty, Shikamaru said with renewed perspective, giving everyone a lot of food for thought regarding Naruto's situation, especially Ino and Sakura, who were the ones mostly stuck on the dead last Dobi perspective of Naruto. Now that Naruto is married to another Uzumaki and a Jinchuriki, what does this mean exactly? Doesn't that make him a clan head? Kiba asked curiously, everyone's eyes widening in surprise as realization suddenly dawned on them, unable to believe that up till now something so crucial had flown over their heads, everyone except Jiraiya of course, who had 6 whole months to think about it. I can't believe I didn't consider that. I was completely distracted by his fight with the Raikage and his Jonin promotion. You're right of course, Naruto is effectively a clan head. I'll have to allocate land within Konoha for him to rebuild his clan and supply him with all the resources he needs to rebuild. Even if he doesn't become Hokage, as head of the Uzumaki clan, which was actually pivotal in the founding of Konoha, he is already someone of great influence and importance in Konoha. Naruto really has covered his bases. At this point I don't think it's by chance or natural design, it seems too methodical, like he planned the whole thing. Tsunade said warily. That doesn't mean he has any sinister intentions. If it's always been his goal to become Hokage, then of course he would do everything in his power to give himself the best chance of becoming Hokage. Besides, Konoha would be a way better place if Naruto succeeded you, no offense to any other contenders. Tamari said with conviction, although a little wary herself of being rebuked by Tsunade as she really had no place interfering in Konoha internal politics. You're not being impartial though, are you? You said so yourself that you and Kazekage-sama love Naruto like a brother, and vice versa. So of course you would want him to be the next Hokage because it would be to your benefit and would give you a measure of influence over Konoha. Kakashi retorted. That doesn't mean what I said is not true. Can you think of a better candidate? Tamari replied smugly, knowing that there definitely was no better candidate. There is Jiraiya-sama, one of the legendary Sannin, a student of the third Hokage who has defended Konoha in many wars. Kakashi retorted. The same Jiraiya-sama who rejected the post when it was offered to him in Konoha's time of need. The same one who finds any excuse to leave the village and has only been inside the village a handful of times over the last 16 years. Tamari asked incredulously. And what was he doing when Shukaku was tearing the village apart? Who was it that stopped Shukaku from destroying Konoha? Wasn't it Genin Uzumaki Naruto? Tamari asked rhetorically. Damn it. I've done it now. I'll be chewed out and banished for sure now. Tamari thought warily. Naruto-kun has all the chips on his side. 90% of the clan heirs are 100% backing him, and he has the full support of the Kazekage and his siblings. Tsunade-sama is playing devil's advocate, but she only returned to the village for Naruto. She 100% believes in him and will take his side no matter what happens. This is checkmate. Naruto-kun has won already. He will be the next Hokage. Shizune thought with a content smile. Whatever. Naruto has made us proud in Kumo. He has further elevated the great name and reputation of Konoha, as he has done ever since he graduated. Sure, there are some concerns about various issues, but overall, he has done the village a great service, and is in the process of doing us another great service by eradicating slavery in the Hyuga clan. The positives by far outweigh the negatives, if there really are any negatives to begin with. Hyuga Neji, deliver Naruto's message to the Hyuga elders, and inform them that Naruto has the full support all the major clan heirs, the Hokage herself, and the Kazekage. Whatever action they take against Naruto and the branch house in retaliation, is an action taken against all of those factions. Go. Now. That's an order. Tsunade declared with authority. Hi, Hokage-sama. Neji saluted before disappearing in a Shunshin technique. Tsunade-sama. If why you don't mind. I would like to accompany Neji ni-san. Hinata requested. Tsunade, seeing how much determination and courage Hinata had in her eyes, deciding to allow her to do what she wanted to do. What are you waiting for? Go already. Tsunade ordered harshly. Hi. Arigato, G Gadaime-sama. Hinata said as she also left the office in a hurry, hoping to catch up to her cousin as soon as possible. That was not meant just for Hinata. Go. Now. Report to your parents what has happened and the decision you have made. Your clan heads should have all the information debriefed to them at the same time that Hyuga Neji completes his debrief of the Hyuga elders. Scatter. Tsunade ordered, every one of the rookie 12 scurrying out of there with haste, apart from Rock Lee and Sakura of course, who both did not belong to a great ninja clan of Konoha. As for everyone else, all of you, except for Jiraiya and Shizune, head home and prepare yourself for what's to come. We may very well be on the verge of civil war. Tamari, head back to Suna as fast as reasonably possible and inform Gaara about what has happened. Let us hope that you were right about him and the lengths he is willing to go to for Naruto. Tsunade ordered. Consider it done, Hokage-sama. And trust me, my brother will do as I said, there is no doubt about it. Tamari said as she bowed her head before turning and leaving the office with the others, only Tsunade, Shizune, and Jiraiya remaining behind. I've been dying to get some alone time with you. You have a lot of explaining to do, Jiraiya, and so Kami-sama help me if I don't like any of the answers I get from you. Tsunade thought with a burning rage bubbling just beneath the surface, an audible gulp escaping Jiraiya's throat as he remembered that he almost died the last time Tsunade was this angry with him. Kuso. Can she really be angry at me for losing track of Naruto after everything that she has seen and heard about him? Jiraiya thought with both fear for his life and incredulity. Earlier. Naruto's apartment. Okay, I've removed all the bugs and spyware in my apartment, and I've set up a custom privacy barrier around it. No one can see, hear, or even smell anything that happens inside of here. So, what did you want to talk to me about, Yuya-chan? What was so important that I had to go through all of that before you can speak to me about it? Naruto asked curiously. You have to seduce the fuck out of Bubkage-sama. To Yuya deadpanned, a completely shocked and incredulous look appearing on Naruto's face, looking at Yuya like she had just grown a whole new head on her shoulders. What the actual fuck? Naruto asked in disbelief, Fu breaking into a fit of laughter at both Yuya's ridiculous statement and the way it was delivered, and at Naruto's subsequent response, unable to believe how fun, exciting, and crazy life had become ever since she met Naruto, reconciling with herself just how much she did not regret getting banished from her home village. Don't play dumb dipshit. You heard me all right, and you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Yuya said irritably. The hell I do. Yuya-chan, you just said literally the most insane thing that has ever been said in the history of the elemental nations. You do realize that, don't you? Naruto asked with concern. Stop looking at me like I belong at the nut house, idiot. Bubkage is the last living senju. If she and that pervy sage, or anyone else for that matter, hook up and have a child, or children, the senju clan will be reborn. What do you think happens to our little takeover plan if the senju clan rises from the ashes? Yuya asked condescendingly, Naruto's eyes narrowing in concentration as realization dawned on him. There are 3 royal families in Konoha: Senju, Uchiha, and Uzumaki, in that order. However, because the Uzumaki are considered distant relatives of the Senju and because of their close relationship to the Senju and their important role in the formation of the village, it is likely that the Uzumaki would be given preference over the Uchiha by the clans and the elders. Naruto said as if reading out of a textbook. Exactly, preference over the Uchiha, but not over the Senju. You need to seduce and marry that cougar bitch so that we can bury the Senju within the Uzumaki clan. Her children with you will be Uzumaki, and not Senju. It's different from the situation with Uncle Minato and Aunt Kushina. Namikaze was the name of an individual orphan. Although he elevated the name with his own achievements, Uzumaki was still a much bigger family name than Namikaze. However, Senju and Uzumaki are equal in name, which means that the children get to keep the paternal name. Yuya explained in detail. Come on Yuya-chan, she's like 100 years old. Can she really get pregnant at her age? Fu asked incredulously, not laughing anymore as she realized how serious the situation was. She absolutely can. She is widely regarded as by far the best medic in the world, and she's a senju. Conceiving and birthing a child, even at her age, would be child's play for her. Naruto said thoughtfully. Exactly. Yuya deadpanned. Damn, this is crazy. I can't believe we're thinking about adding Bubkage to our family. Fu said in awe. Idiot. There's nothing to think about. This has to happen. Dipshit, try not to force it, but also don't hesitate too much. You already love Bubkage and she already loves you. Energy doesn't disappear, it merely changes form. All you have to do is to change that sibling love or mother-son love or whatever it is that you two have into love between a man and a woman. You're two very beautiful and very attractive people who love each other. It shouldn't be that hard, and once she succumbs and you give her that good, it's a wrap. Yuya said as if it was the easiest thing in the world to seduce your mother figure who also happens to be your military leader and dictator. Damn it, why does everything have to be so complicated? Seduce Tsunade Ba-chan. That has to be the hardest mission ever. Fighting both Itachi and Kisame at the same time would be easier. Naruto thought warily. Ha ha ha. No way. I call BS. Itachi and Kisame. Hell no. I never met them but I know enough about them to know that can't possibly be true. Fu laughed amusedly. Aren't you enjoying this just a little too much? Naruto asked irritably. Nope. Nowhere near enough if you ask me. I'm never gonna forget this moment, I wouldn't forget it even if I had amnesia. Fu said, laughing at the blonde Uzumaki's expense. Damn it. Fine, I'll do it. Naruto said with a heavy sigh. Good boy, Tayuya said with a diabolical smirk. Apart from bug bitch, I'm not happy with dipshit sticking his big into other women or having any emotional attachments outside of us too, but if this is the sacrifice our generation has to make in order to secure the future of the Uzumaki clan, then so fucking be it. Tayuya thought with determination. I need a nap. I just want to forget about this whole seduce Tsunade Ba-chan mission for at least an hour or two. Naruto thought as he turned and went in the direction of this room. Not alone you aren't. I'm coming with you. Tayuya said possessively. Ooh, me too. Group nap. Haha. Fu exclaimed excitedly, Naruto rolling his eyes at how someone so energetic could talk so enthusiastically about taking a nap. Currently, Naruto's apartment. What the fuck do you think you're doing, Tem? Hey dipshit. Are all of these Konoha Jonin a bunch of filthy perverts? Tayuya asked furiously, having woken up and grabbed the arm that was trying to touch her through the open window right above the bed she, Naruto, and Fu were cuddling on, of course, said bed being the sole bed in the sole bedroom in the apartment. Hey, so Ero Sennin isn't the only super pervert in Konoha. Hee. Maybe they should change the name of the village to Erogakur no Sato. Fu laughed amusedly. The village hidden in the perverts, huh? Hee. Should make a good title for one of Jiraiya Sensei's perverted novels. Naruto laughed, amused to no end by Fu-chan's inventive name for the village. Wait a minute. See, could you please let go of my arm? If you squeeze any tighter, I'm afraid you're going to literally crush the bones in my arm. The interloper pleaded. Hey, like I give a shit about your arm. Do I look like someone who gives a shit about a damn no good pervert's arm, huh? Tayuya asked uncaringly. She doesn't even look like she is putting that much of an effort in yet. Yet I can't even move even an inch of my arm, and it feels like she could pull my arm right off of its sockets. I heard she was really strong when she uses the cursed seal, even able to break out of a shadow binding and shadow possession from point-blank range, but she isn't even using any curse power right now. The interloper thought warily. He has short, messy brown hair and black eyes, wearing a forehead protector in the form of a head guard similar to the one the second Hokage used to wear. He is also wearing standard Konoha Jonin outfit and a brown weapons pouch on his right leg. This guy, he's a wood-style user. But how is this possible? Is there another Senju in the village? Naruto thought warily, his chakra sensing skills and the fact that he is a Mokuden user himself making it easy for him to be able to tell that this guy is wood-style user too. Naruto-san, please tell your wife to release me. If she crushes the bones in my arm and I am unable to carry on as a shinobi as a result, she could be charged for treason and arrested. The man pleaded desperately. I can't even mold chakra in my right arm anymore. She really will crush it if she tightens her grip any further. The alleged pervert thought in pain. Who are you? And what do you want? Naruto asked casually, completely calm about the whole thing, mostly because he couldn't sense any negative emotions from the guy except for fear right now. My name is Yamato. Tsunade-sama sent arg. Yamato exclaimed in pain as Tayuya squeezed harder. The interloper, now known as Yamato, bringing forward his left arm, palm facing Tayuya as a wooden pillar grew from his palm and headed straight for her chest. However, the pillar getting obliterated by an invisible force long before it reached the redhead Uzumaki, Tayuya using a wave of vibration released to destroy the pillar of wood at a molecular level, much to Yamato's surprise of course, although her eyes too were wide in surprise when she saw that he could actually use wood release. Dipshit. Did you see that? This guy just totally used wood release just now. Tayuya exclaimed in surprise. Damn, is he like Shodime-sama's secret grandchild or something? He's kinda weak though, I mean, comparatively speaking of course. Fu said in both awe and disappointment. Let him go, Tayuya. This man, despite appearances, does not appear to harbor any sinister intent towards us. Naruto ordered calmly, Tayuya doing as instructed even though she did not seem happy at all about it, still convinced that Yamato was in fact a super pervert who was trying to live his perverted fantasies through them. Thank you, Naruto-san. I was afraid she was going to damage my arm beyond repair. Yamato replied, making a note to himself to never be caught in Tayuya's vice grip again. Think nothing of it, Naruto said with a casual shrug of the shoulders. So, Yamato-san, why don't you tell us your real name this time and what exactly you want from us? Naruto asked with a dangerous edge to his tone, a danger that Yamato felt in full force, and it made him realize that Naruto was not someone that he wanted to piss off. How? Does he have some kind of lie detection ability? I feel like my throat is literally on a knife's edge, like he could kill me in an instant if I even think about lying to him again. Yamato thought warily. My real name is Tenzo, but you can call me Yamato for the duration of my mission. Yamato said carefully, making a judgment call and deciding that lying about his identity at this juncture was more likely to decrease the chances of his mission succeeding. Tenzo, huh? Tell us, Tenzo, what mission would that be? Naruto asked curiously. To serve as team captain for Team 15, comprised of Uzumaki Tayuya, Uzumaki Fu, Kato Shizune, and Yamato Taicho, which of course, is me. Yamato said, eliciting frowns from the Uzumaki, who were clearly unhappy about the whole situation, as Yamato expected of course. Quote, it's alright, Yuya-chan. I kind of figured they would try and separate us. Honestly, I'm surprised that they allowed you and Fu-chan to be in the same team. Naruto said calmly. Doesn't mean I have to be fucking happy about it. Tayuya retorted. Hey, look at the bright side, Yuya-chan, at least the two of us are still together. Plus, we get to be in a team with Naruto-kun's Ne-chan. Fu said jovially, always the optimistic one as usual. Shizune Ne-chan, huh? Now that is a big surprise. Granted, every team is supposed to have a medic nin according to Tsunade-sama's ninja policy, but I never thought it would be Shizune Ne-chan of all people. The two of them have always been attached to each other at the hip, for Tsunade-sama to be willing to let her go is something completely unprecedented. Naruto thought out loud. Hey, like I care why. This is an opportunity to get to know the rest of the family. Plus, if she's Tsunade-sama's apprentice and confidant, then she must really be good at what she does. Fu said excitedly. I suppose there are worse choices out there. Tayuya grumbled under her breath. Ahem. Yamato coughed, feeling like he was a fourth wheel to this conversation as he went completely ignored, the fact that he was crouching on the window sill making it all the more awkward. What do you want now, Yamato-tem? Tayuya asked irritably. I just want the opportunity to finish my report so that I can take my leave. Then hurry the fuck up then. We don't have all day, asshole. Tayuya said impatiently. She's so rude. She would make a horrible diplomat. Is this really the wife of the future Hokage? I pray, if he ever does become Hokage, Naruto-san never take her on any diplomatic mission, no matter how much she wants to go with him. Yamato thought warily. Ahem, Naruto-san, you are to resume your duties and obligations with Team 7, effective immediately. Meaning, of course, that you will report to Training Ground 7 tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Fu-san, Tayuya-san, you will report to me at the same time at Training Ground 15. Yamato concluded his report. Fine, whatever. Is that all? Tayuya grumbled. That will be all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Yamato said as he disappeared in a standard Shunshin technique, leaving Naruto to deal with the massive headache that is Tayuya, who just wouldn't stop cursing and complaining about the new team allocations, wearing her emotions on her sleeve as usual, which of course Naruto didn't mind because he loved her for who and what she was, without any reservations, although sometimes she did go overboard, in which case he would have to call her into order. 3 hours later. Hokage office. You called for me, Tsunade-sama? Naruto asked as he took a knee in front of the Hokage's desk, his head bowed down in both submission and respect for the Hokage, respect for both the person and the title. Stop that. Get on your feet, damn it. Why are you acting so weird? It's unlike you. It's just you and me now. Tsunade said irritably. And Shizune Ne-chan. Naruto pointed out calmly, nevertheless doing as instructed and getting back on his feet. So you can be casual and familiar with her and call her Nei-chan, but you cannot be bothered to call me Ba-chan like you used to. Did I do something to make you hate me? Tsunade asked uncomfortably, hurt by Naruto's distant treatment of her, especially since she was doing everything that she had done over the last 3 years because of him, and for him. I thought you hated it when I called you Ba-chan. Naruto asked with a confused frown on his facial features. I did, at least I thought I did. Maybe I still do, but I know that I hate how you treat me now way more. Tsunade said irritably. Okay. Naruto said after thinking it over for a while. It's going to be a bit awkward for me though. As soon as I really started working on grooming myself to be the next Hokage, I realized that there were a lot of things I was taking for granted, one of which was the respect with which I treated you, or rather the lack of it. It's not that I stopped thinking of you as part of my family the way I do about Shizune Nei-chan. For example, Neji loves Hinata-chan like a sister, but he calls her Hinata-sama. It's something like that, I guess. Naruto explained as best he could, Tsunade having to stop herself from staring at Naruto like he was some kind of alien, struggling to get used to the calm, collected, and eloquent version of him, as if she was talking to someone else entirely. I see. So, you don't hate us. By us I mean me, Jiraiya, and Shizune, but mostly Jiraiya and I. You know the truth about your lineage now from what I understand. You know who Jiraiya was to your father, and you know who I am to you and your mother. What about Kakashi? He was your father's student. You don't hate him? Tsunade asked tensely. I don't hate any of you, not anymore at least. Naruto deadpanned. So you admit that you did harbor ill will towards us? Tsunade asked, eyes narrowed with suspicion and brows furrowed in concern. Of course I did. I wouldn't be human if I didn't, especially as I was when I found out. However, I have had enough time to sort through my feelings. I have forgiven all of you, even Sandaime-sama, but... Naruto trailed off gravely. But what? Tsunade asked with concern, her fight-or-flight instincts kicking in. I will never forget, and therefore will likely never trust any of you again. I know that Jiraiya-sensei has struggled with trust issues regarding me since my disappearance during our training trip, and I know that you, Kakashi-sensei, and maybe even Shizune Nei-chan feel as though you cannot completely trust me after learning about what has transpired since my departure. However, none of you have the right to question my loyalty. I'm not the one that has to earn your trust, you are the ones who should be trying to earn my trust. You are the ones who betrayed me and my parents. Naruto said with a cold, emotionless tone, to both Tsunade's and Shizune's surprise as neither of them expected that response, nor had they even considered the whole situation from Naruto's perspective, at least not to that extent. Naruto I wish I could say I left before you were born and didn't know about you, but that would be a lie. Truth is, you're not the only one I abandoned your mother before I abandoned you. And then I heard about what happened and how you were not only orphaned but were also the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, and I didn't bother to come back and check on you. I convinced myself that you were better off without me, and that Sarutobi-sensei would take good care of you. I was a fool, and a coward. You're right, we betrayed you and your parents in the worst way possible. We have no right to question your honor and your loyalty. I'm sorry, Naruto, for all the suffering you had to endure because of our foolishness and cowardice. Tsunade said in anguish, tears free falling from her eyes as she tried but failed to stop them, Shizune sniffling on the side as she pulled out a handkerchief and began blowing her nose, Naruto wanting to get angry at Tsunade for crying when she was the one who betrayed him and his parents but unable to do so as he could tell with his empathic abilities that her pain and regret was genuine. Damn it, Naruto thought as he got up from his chair, startling Shizune and Tsunade as they thought that he was going to storm out of the office in anger, but to their surprise Naruto going around the office desk and standing next to Tsunade with his arms wide open. Stop crying. I already said I forgive you, didn't I? Now come, give your grandnephew or something a big hug. Naruto said with a warm smile, Tsunade, much to Naruto's surprise this time. Jumping into his arms and holding on to him like he was her lifeline, the blonde Uzumaki having expected her to hesitate or outright refuse as that was something more characteristic of her. Tsunade bawling her eyes on Naruto's chest, unable to imagine what would have become of her if she hadn't met Naruto 3 years ago, and especially if she had lost him because he hated her and didn't want anything to do with her anymore. Don't worry, we all make mistakes. The past is not irrelevant, but it is not a mountain that cannot be overcome. We cannot allow it to become shackles that bind us and prevent us from moving forward. As long as we can breathe, we can always try and do better. Naruto said as he rubbed his right hand up and down the Hokage's back, holding on tightly to her so that she knows that she is safe in his arms, Tsunade's eyes widening in that moment as Naruto reminded her so much of Dan in both the way he held her and the way he made her feel like the most important thing in his world, not to mention the words he spoke to her as it was something that Dan would say. Naruto left confused when Tsunade suddenly pushed herself away from him. What's wrong? Naruto asked with a confused frown, feigning ignorance, because he knew exactly what was happening. The reason he knew was because not only could he sense her emotions, but he could also sense her pheromones too, and knew her emotions towards him had suddenly become romantic in nature, which had a physical effect on her as it triggered her arousal. Naruto figured that his physical appearance didn't help either, as it was probably easier for her to see him as a sort of stand-in Naoki when he was smaller, but now that he was fully grown, it was more likely that he would remind her of Dan as opposed to Naoki, especially seeing as Naoki never made it to his teenager adult years. Nothing. It's not you, it's just me. You just reminded me of someone I lost long ago. I know it's not your fault and I hope you don't blame yourself. It's my fault for not having the strength to move on. Tsunade said apologetically. It's okay. I don't mind, and even if I don't fully understand how I make you feel, I want you to know that I accept it. I accept all of you as you are, ghosts of the past and all, and I embrace all of the feelings that come with that. Naruto said as he was reminded of a conversation that he had with Tayuya about seducing Tsunade. It's simple, dipshit. All you have to do is make yourself physically and emotionally available to her. That's all. No deception or super seduction technique is necessary. The foundation is already there, just lay the bricks and let the structure unfold. Damn, she was totally right. What the hell was that snake pedophile teaching them out there in Otogakure? Naruto thought, unable to believe that somehow Orochimaru's perverted teachings were benefiting him now. Maybe he should thank the creepy bastard the next time he runs into him. Thank you, Naruto. I appreciate that, really. You've become my most precious person, and I'm sure Shizune feels the same way. You rescued us from a meaningless life of obscurity and gave meaning to our lives. You brought joy and purpose in our lives, and that is something we can never repay you for, but we will die trying. Tsunade said lovingly. Why does she keep bringing Shizune Ne-chan up? Did they come as a package or something? Do I have to seduce both of them to get to her? Or is she trying to use Shizune Ne-chan to cloak the feelings that she is developing for me by making it seem like what she feels is normal and nothing more than what it is? Naruto thought confusedly, which of course, had the effect of triggering another Tayuya lesson to replay in his mind. Don't overanalyze anything when you are with her. Bukage closed herself off from the world after she lost her brother and lover. People who close themselves off are the most emotionally vulnerable. That's why they feel the need to protect themselves by making themselves emotionally unavailable. Therefore, you need to be emotional, and not cerebral, in order to break through her defenses. Thank you for saying that. You are one of my most precious people too, both of you. Naruto replied sincerely, speaking from the bottom of his heart just like his beloved wife Tayuya suggested, a comfortable silence settling between the occupants of the Hokage's office. Remember, dipshit. Seduction is not always a one-day mission, especially when it is an emotional seduction just as much as it is. Don't try and force things, and definitely don't overdo it. If you need to change the topic and focus on other non-seduction related matters, feel free to do so. You'll get that bitch eventually, it doesn't have to happen in one day. Anyway, was there another reason for calling me into the office? I imagine you have a lot of other questions for me apart from my knowledge about my heritage. Naruto asked curiously, going back around the desk and then retaking his seat again so that he can chat with Tsunade in her capacity as Hokage, and in doing so, following Yuya's seduction guidebook to its most minute detail. As a matter of fact, I do. I've received reports that you and your wives have created quite a stir in the village. My Anbu messengers say that the three of you have been seen, by literally everyone, flying around the village. Care to be explained? Tsunade asked with a frown on her facial features, unhappy about the fact that Jiraiya had made no mention of the fact that Naruto and his wives could literally fly. I don't understand what is there to explain, Ba-chan. When I returned, the first thing I did was inform you that we're the Konoha flying squad. I thought you understood what I meant. I mean, there is only one definition for the word flying. Naruto asked, confused. What? Are you out of your mind? Why would I think that you meant that literally? I thought flying squad was just a moniker for your team, maybe because of how fast you get things done or something. After I watched your battles and saw just how ridiculously fast you and your wives are, that seemed to be more than enough confirmation of my assumption. Tsunade retorted. But then, I'm pretty sure that I flew when I was fighting Lord Raikage. Surely you couldn't have missed that? Naruto asked, confused. You floated, at best, for a brief moment. That doesn't mean you can fly. Tsunade retorted. Wow, she's complete denial about it. I suppose I can't blame her. Shinobi who can fly are extremely rare. Naruto thought. Well, all three of us can fly, and I mean better than a hawk kind of flying. Naruto replied with a casual shrug of the shoulders. Better than a what? How far can you fly exactly? Could you fly to another country? Tsunade asked in disbelief. That's child's play. Naruto deadpanned, both Tsunade and Shizune looking at him with bug eyes expressions. Naruto-kun, how exactly do you even achieve flight? What kind of jutsu is it? Do all three of you have wind release? Shizune asked curiously. I suppose I was always going to have to make a report on our abilities, so I might as well do it now. I use wind release to fly, Yuya-chan uses vibration release, and Fu-chan has two different methods to achieve flight. She has two different methods of flying. How? Tsunade asked in both awe and disbelief. First, she can use the wings of her biju to fly. She has the ability to manifest wings on her back and use them to fly. The other method is via the same just you as Lord Tsuchikage and his granddaughter, that being via particle release. She is a master at both methods. Naruto explained patiently. Particle release. That's a bloodline expansion that combines fire release, earth release, and wind release, is it not? Shizune asked with wide eyes. You know your stuff, Shizune Ne-chan, as expected of Godime-sama's apprentice. And yes, you are correct, of course, meaning that Fu-chan is not only a master of the particle release Keke Toda, but she is also a master of wind release, fire release, and earth release, on top of being a perfect Jinchuriki. Naruto explained in detail. That's on top of having the super strength of a dung beetle and the super speed of a tiger beetle, correct? My god, she really is an S-rank threat level ninja, isn't she? All this at just age 15. Tsunade thought in awe and honestly, a little fear and concern, because if Fu ever turned her attentions against Konoha, stopping her would be extremely difficult. Precisely, and that goes for Yuya-chan too. You saw her defeat Godspeed C without even using her cursed seal. Her abilities take a massive boost when she uses level 1 cursed seal, and when she uses level 2, well, she's something else entirely. Furthermore, she has unparalleled mastery of vibration release and sound release, and also is a master of water and earth release. She is also incredible at genjutsu, as you no doubt saw against Godspeed C of Kumogakure. Last but not least, she is Doki Summoner and is a master at both taijutsu and kenjutsu. Naruto concluded his report, leaving out some other details of course, such as the fact that Tayuya no longer needed to play her flute to control her doki because they had sealed reinforced shadow clones into each one of them, and that consequently, the doki could use Curse Sage mode, gain a massive strength and speed boost. After all, a ninja never reveals all of their secrets. She's definitely an S-class ninja based on what I saw in her battle against Godspeed C, and so are you. I'll have to update all of your profiles in the bingo books to indicate as such. The more S-class ninja we have, the more missions we will get compared to other ninja villages. Tsunade said with a thinking pose, which typically involved her biting on the nail of her right-hand thumb. Speaking of which, what about you? What are your abilities? I couldn't help but notice that you left yourself out. Tsunade asked with narrowed eyes. Hehe, what's with that look, Ba-chan? I wasn't planning on leaving myself out of the report. Naruto retorted. Prove it, Tsunade said with smirk on her facial features. I don't know what kind of impression you have about me, Ba-chan, but I'm not the conniving snake you seem to think I am. But in any case, I am a master of wind release, chakra shape manipulation, water release, and earth release. I am also a master of the sealing and barrier arts, a master of kenjutsu, and a master of taijutsu. I'm a toad summoner, a perfect Jinchuriki, and I'm also pretty fast, if I may say so myself. Naruto shrugged, of course, leaving out the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Sage Mode, and Mokuden Jutsu, not feeling the need or desire to reveal all of his secrets just yet. So you fully reigned in the Kyuubi. Jiraiya mentioned that too. He said you proved it to him by manifesting one of the Kyuubi's actual limbs from your body. What's that about? Tsunade asked curiously. A perfect Jinchuriki has various traits that separate them from normal Jinchuriki. For one, a perfect Jinchuriki can use the version 1 chakra cloak with all the tails manifested, and can use the version 2 cloak like you saw Fu-chan use against Black Flash Darui or Darui the Swift, whichever moniker is your preference. Thirdly, a perfect Jinchuriki can undergo the full transformation into his or her beast without losing control to the beast, all of this without suffering any negative physical or mental effects from the Biju's chakra. Finally, a perfect Jinchuriki can manifest any body part of the Biju on any part of their own body. Like this, Naruto trailed off as a large claw with red silky fur came out of his chest and attempted to grab the Lady Hokage Tsunade, Tsunade jumping out of her chair and almost jumping out of her own skin as she moved far and away in an instant, the back wall the only thing stopping her from going any further back. Immediately afterwards, 5 Anbu appeared out of nowhere, tantos drawn as they attempted to decapitate and stab Naruto, only for them, in an instant, before they even knew what happened, to find themselves trapped and immobilized within 5 of the Kyuubi's tails that Naruto manifested, the tails wrapping around and constricting them from neck to bottom, leaving only their heads visible to the eye. Relax, Ba-chan. You don't honestly think I was going to attack you, do you? That was just a demonstration. Naruto said with his hands in the air in a placating manner, as if he didn't have a demon claw coming out of his chest or 5 demon tails sprouting out of his back. Naru, idiot. Put those bloody things away, now. And don't ever do that again without prior warning. Tsunade exclaimed angrily, relieved when she realized that Naruto was in complete control but also terrified out of her mind as she had no idea that this was what it felt like to interact with the Kyuubi. Such powerful and sinister chakra. And this thing lives inside of Naruto. He has to live his whole life with something like that inside of him. How does he do it? How hasn't he been destroyed already? Tsunade thought in disbelief as she watched carefully as the claw and the tails retreated back into Naruto, allowing the Anbu guards their freedom of movement again. Those tails were impossibly fast too. Are the tails faster than the claws, or is it because he was under attack by the Anbu that he moved the tails at a much faster speed than the claw? Tsunade thought, thankful that she was able to escape without having something so evil and demonic touching her. There, all done. No harm done, Naruto said, his hands still in the air in submission. You fool. Never use your demon powers like that again without consent, do you understand? Tsunade shouted at Naruto as she finally mastered the courage to sit down across from him again, her heart still beating at a rapid pace as she signaled for the Anbu to retreat back to their prior positions. I promise. Naruto said sincerely. Gee, good. Now, your Kenjutsu. I understand that you previously used the Kubikiribocho, but have since had it replaced. That sword, where did you get it? Tsunade asked suspiciously, pretty sure that she knew exactly what that sword was, at least, she knew the handle of the sword. This is the Hiraishin no Ken, formerly known as the Raijin no Ken, a sword that previously belonged to the second Hokage Senju Tobarama-sama but was stolen by Aoi of Konoha, who defected and joined Omegakure no Sato, only to defect again and become a missing ninja. I ran into him when I was separated from Jiraiya-sensei. The sword was damaged during the fight, but I have since not only restored it but have made significant upgrades to it. Naruto replied in detail. What a coincidence that he of all people would be the one to run into that man and end up in possession of that sword. If there is such a thing as fate or destiny, then it surely is smiling on him. Tsunade thought in awe. Who gave you permission to have that sword? Tsunade asked, feigning anger even though she really wasn't angry at all but just wanted Naruto to understand the potential ramifications of his actions if anyone other than her was Hokage. Sometimes it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Nevertheless, if my actions have offended you in any way whatsoever, then you have my sincerest apologies. I am willing to relinquish possession of the sword to you if that will please you. Naruto replied diplomatically, even though he was the rightful heir to the sword by birthright as the son of Namikaze Minato, who was secretly a Senju himself, being a direct descendant of Senju Tobarama, who of course, was the original owner and inventor of the sword. The problem is that I do not know if she is privy to that knowledge or not. According to my father, Sandaime-sama was aware of it, but did he leave any of that information behind for future Hokages? I suppose I'll only know for sure when I myself ascend to the Hokage position, unless of course Tsunade Ba-chan for whatever reason decides to hide that info from me. Naruto thought with uncertainty. Naturally, he could have just told her the truth and be done with it, however that too was a double-edged sword, because while it would legitimize him without a shadow of doubt as the owner of the Hiraishin no Ken without needing permission from the alleged last heir of the Senju, it could potentially damage his own plans as there might be calls for him to take up the Senju name and become the next clan head of the Senju clan as opposed to the Uzumaki. He didn't believe Tsunade would force him to uphold the Senju legacy, but he knew that if the elders found out, then it could turn into a political nightmare for him. Granted, being a Senju would actually increase his chances of becoming Hokage and would actually endear the people in the other clans more to him than if he was Uzumaki, but after the Senju betrayed and used the Uzumaki the way they did in the past, Naruto really didn't want to be a part of that legacy and didn't want the Uzumaki lineage to end because of guess what, the Senju name again. It's not that he hated the Senju per se. Sure, they refused to provide aid to the Uzumaki clan in their time of need when the Uzumaki were ganged up on by Kiri, Kumo, and Iwa, but there was only one Senju remaining now, and that was Tsunade, who had nothing to do with what happened back then. So could or should he hate her for what her predecessors did? Naruto didn't think that was fair. Besides, he was also of Senju lineage just as much as she was. If he hated her, then he would have to hate himself too. There was also the other fact that Tsunade was part Uzumaki too, seeing as her grandmother was Uzumaki Mito. So in essence, they were in a pretty similar situation. Hating her would literally make him a hypocrite. Of course, Tayuya disagreed with him. She felt that Tsunade was no different to the other Senju who abandoned and betrayed the Uzumaki as Tsunade abandoned his mother, her last living relative, and left the village, only to then abandon him and allowed him to grow up alone in a village that hated him without anyone to raise him and guide him. So how was she different from the other Senju who betrayed and abandoned the Uzumaki? Naruto had to admit that Tayuya made quite a point. However, Tsunade seemed to be aware of her mistake and was actively trying to rectify it. If there was ever a possibility to unite the elemental nations and create a peaceful ninja world, then surely forgiveness for someone who was sincerely trying to change and do better had to be part of it. Also, if the Uzumaki were as better than the Senju as they claimed, then surely they couldn't abandon Tsunade, who was of Uzumaki lineage herself. Wouldn't that just make them hypocrites who are no different than the Senju? It's okay, the sword is yours. Consider it a gift from a doting mother to her son. But you sure have grown up, haven't you? I suppose I'll have to accept that this is the new you and that the old Naruto is gone forever. Tsunade said, breaking Naruto out of his Senju Uzumaki contemplations. Thank you, but, don't you mean a gift from a doting grandmother to a grandson? Naruto retorted. Idiot. Tsunade exclaimed as she grabbed the closest thing to her, which happened to be a paper puncture, and threw it at the blonde Uzumaki's face, Naruto quickly moving his head out of the way just in the nick of time, the stationary tool getting smashed into smithereens when it hit the far wall, such was the power with which it was thrown. I take it back. You haven't grown at all. Tsunade said, veins popping on her forehead due to how angry and triggered she was. I love you too, Ba-chan. Naruto said with a small smirk, Tsunade's heart skipping a beat as she didn't expect that sort of response at all, not only because of the fact that Naruto had literally never spoken those words to her before, but also because of the sheer level of sincerity with which they were said. Shut up. And get the hell out of my office. Tsunade stuttered, a very clear and visible blush visible on her facial features as she all of a sudden became flustered beyond her control. Are you sure? I feel like there is a lot more for us to discuss, like for instance my clan status as the head of the Uzumaki clan. I need you to allocate a large patch of land for me and of course, I'm willing to pay for it if that is necessary. I've collected a large bag of money. I have more than enough to rebuild the clan so it wouldn't really cost the village anything at all. All I need is your declaration. Naruto said with a serious tone. The Uzumaki clan, huh? How exactly did you find out about the clan? As far as I'm aware, it seems like Sarutobi-sensei went out of his way to erase all information about the clan within Konoha. He seemed determined that you never find out anything about them, unless there was some other reason for his actions. Tsunade asked curiously, Naruto doing extremely well not to show any emotions even though the Sandame's actions pissed him off to no end. I do not know or care why he did what he did, nor do I care to explain my knowledge of my clan. Think of it as a clan secret if you will. What I do care about however is the rebuilding of my clan, starting with land allocation. Naruto replied calmly, but firmly. A clan secret? What is so terrible about how you got your information that you have to hide it behind clan law? Tsunade asked suspiciously. Ba-chan, with all due respect, this has nothing to do with you or the village for that matter. As I said, my knowledge of the clan is clan-privileged information, and I'm not going to change my stance on that. Naruto replied calmly, causing Tsunade to grit her teeth in anger and frustration. Damn you Naruto, why are you being so difficult? What have you gotten yourself into? This better not have something to do with Danzo. Tsunade exclaimed angrily. That old crippled fart. I assure you this has nothing to do with him. I've only ever spoken to that guy once when I was a kid, and I've only seen him less than a handful of times in my life. Also, you should be well aware by now, that there is nothing I could get myself into that I couldn't get myself out of. You saw me fight Lord Raikage. You know what I can do. Naruto retorted. You didn't tell me everything you can do, so why should I trust you? Tsunade asked incredulously. What are you talking about? Naruto asked, confused. Jiraiya told me you can use the same jutsu as your mother, the chakra chain technique. Yet when I asked you to name your abilities, you failed to mention that little tad bit of significant information. Tsunade said with venom on her tongue. Sorry, but I have so many abilities it must have slipped my mind. After all, I've never had to list all of my abilities before. And if that is not to your satisfaction, please remember, God-sama, I'm not obligated to disclose clan secret techniques. Naruto said with a grave undertone, Tsunade jerking back a little at Naruto's lack of use of the affectionate, Ba-chan, which was as good an indicator as any that he was not very pleased with her right now. Fine, whatever. What patch of land have you found? Is that why you three were freaking out the civilians and shinobi alike when you were flying around the village? Were you looking for a suitable piece of land? Tsunade asked, deciding that it was better to let go of her suspicions for now unless she wanted to damage her already fragile relationship with her surrogate son, who infuriatingly was able to bring up feelings and emotions in her that no mother should have for her son. Amongst other things. Nevertheless, I am reclaiming the land that my father and mother bought for our family, that includes the house and all of its possessions, of course. I am also reclaiming the Uzumaki Temple, effective immediately. As a result, I have identified the land between the Uzumaki Namikaze estate and the Uzumaki Temple as suitable land to rebuild the Uzumaki clan, with the Uzumaki Namikaze estate and the Uzumaki Temple becoming part of the new Uzumaki clan compound, should you decide to declare or sell that land to the Uzumaki clan, of course. Naruto replied tactically. He's not playing around, as he has a clear and thought-out plan and he is not wasting any time executing it. Moreover, he knows I cannot afford to refuse him, because not only does he wield a significant amount of power both on his own merits and with his mastery of the Kyuubi, but he also powerful allies in Yuya and especially Fu, who is also a perfect Jinchuriki. Going up against the Kyuubi alone would be a nightmare. Add the Nanabi to that and it could literally spell the extinction of Konoha. Tsunade thought warily. Even if they didn't attack the village, simply letting them leave the village would be a tactical blunder, especially if they joined an enemy village or even a friendly one like Suna. Tamari has already made clear her family's affection and interest in Naruto. They would surely welcome him, and Suna would thus have 3 Jinchuriki. Unacceptable. Besides, Naruto's demands, apart from the Hyuga issue, have not been unreasonable. In fact, they are the bare minimum for someone of his status and heritage. Fine. I'll send people to evaluate the land and determine its monetary value, and then it will be sold to you accordingly. Tsunade replied with a heavy sigh. Glad to hear it. I'll hold you to that, Ba-chan. Naruto said with a grave undertone. Of course. I wouldn't expect anything less from someone as big on promises as you are. Tsunade retorted. Quote. Ahem. Now, I assume you've been informed by Yamato about the updated team allocations. Tsunade asked warily, expecting Naruto to blow his fuse on her but deciding to get it over and done with anyway. That I'll be rejoining Team 7 and that my wives will be joining Team 15 with Shizune-chan. Yes, I've been made aware. Naruto replied casually. And how do you feel about that? Tsunade asked with concern. Displeased, to say the least. The 3 of us have spent a year and a half shaping ourselves into the ultimate ninja squad, and with Jiraiya sensei as our captain, we would have been unstoppable. I was planning for us to be an Akatsuki hunting squad, to take the fight to them instead of waiting for them to make a move. Seems like you and Jiraiya sensei had other plans though. Naruto replied sincerely, not hiding any of his feelings from her, both in order to earn her trust and because it was part of the seduction plan, as he had to be emotional available to Tsunade in order for that to work. So you feel like Jiraiya abandoned you again? Like he did when you were younger? Tsunade asked worriedly. It's not a feeling more than it's a fact. Although I suppose his role as a spy is something neither you nor he wanted to lose at this point in time, so I kind of get that. It doesn't matter. Sakura has been your student for 3 years, I'm sure she's picked up a thing or two from you. Kakashi sensei is the legendary copy ninja, that's all there needs to be said. If the 2 of them can keep one Akatsuki occupied for a while as I take care of the other, then we should be fine. Naruto replied as if it was nothing of consequence. Although given how easily Itachi dispatched of Kakashi sensei last time they met, it would be better to approach the situation as if I'm fighting alone. Naruto thought to himself. Well, Sakura has improved by leaps and bounds, and Kakashi has been training just as hard from what I've heard. Don't underestimate them. Besides, you have a 4th member in the squad, Special Jonin Mitarashi Anko. You'll remember her as the 2nd examiner in the Chunin exams that you participated in 3 years ago. Tsunade clarified for the sake of the blonde Uzumaki. The crazy snake lady. Wow, life truly is amazing. If someone told me 3 years ago that she and I would be in the same team, I would have laughed till my intestines shriveled up. Naruto chuckled. But is this really a good match-up? Snakes and toads don't really get along that well, if at all. I sure hope our respective summons don't end up fighting each other instead of the enemy. Naruto thought, but then quickly dismissing the thought as soon as it registered in his mind as he remembered that the Sannin used to fight together with snakes, slugs, and toads on the battlefield and were actually revered for their excellent teamwork. Well, let's just hope I was right about you two getting along. Tsunade retorted. I'm sure we'll be just fine. Naruto retorted, after all, if he could handle Tayuya, then he was relatively sure that there wasn't a woman in the world that he couldn't handle. Good. Now, Shizune. Tsunade-sama. Shizune sputtered, not expecting to be involved in the conversation so suddenly. Don't you have anything to ask Naruto? You're about to be teammates with his wives. Isn't there any advice or anything else you want to ask him? Tsunade asked rhetorically. Yes there is. Tsunade-sama. Shizune said hastily. You'd think after spending so many years with Tsunade Ba-chan she wouldn't look like a deer caught in a wagon's path when Ba-chan has one of her mood swings. Naruto thought with a mental shake of the head. Naruto-kun, do I have your blessing? I know this decision was thrust upon you and that you had other plans for you and your wives, but, are you unhappy with me being in a team with your wives? Do you think me worthy? Shizune asked self-consciously. What's this about being worthy? You're the apprentice of the great Tsunade of the Sannin, who is also the Godime Hokage. You're an excellent medical ninja in your own right and sure, you haven't been on the field in a while but I'm more than confident in your abilities. Besides, more importantly, my wives aside, out of every one of Tsunade Ba-chan's subordinates, you're the person I love and trust the most. Naruto said as if it was the most obvious thing in the world, which in fact, to him at least, it was, his words leaving Shizune on the verge of tears of joy. Naruto-kun, you have no idea how much that means to me. I want you to know that I feel exactly the same as you. Out of everyone under the authority of Tsunade-sama, you're by far my most precious person. Shizune said happily. See, no harm done at all. 3 of my most precious people are in the same team, working together for a mutual goal and watching each other's backs as they protect each other from danger. How can I complain about that? Naruto replied with a warm and charming smile, causing Shizune's heart to jump a few heartbeats, overwhelmed not only by Naruto's heart-warming declaration but also because of how handsome he looked. While I am happy that the two of you are getting along so well, your heartfelt declaration does bring up another question. How can Shizune be your most precious person apart from your wives, when you haven't even spent that much time with her? You've spent a lot more time with Team 7, and when you left, it seemed that Team 7, especially Sakura and Sasuke, were your most treasured people in the world. You even begged me not to put Sasuke in the bingo books like a common criminal. Are you telling me that has all changed now? Do you no longer care about Sakura and Sasuke? Should I put Sasuke in the bingo book now? Tsunade asked with curiosity, concern, and suspicion. She doesn't let anything pass her by, does she? I suppose she has to probe and suspect everything. It's part of her job as the Hokage, and as her prospective successor, she has even more reason to want to know everything about me. It's quite annoying honestly, but it is what it is, I guess. Naruto thought analytically. Time, huh? You know, I knew Haku and Zabuza for a much shorter time, and as for Zabuza, I only fought him for a brief moment and most of the time he was fighting Kakashi-sensei. However, I mourn their deaths even to this day, and I genuinely think of Haku as a brother. I've also known Kazekage-sama Gaara for a very short time and I have spent less time with him than I have with Shizune-chan, and yet he is my brother in every possible way that matters. You see where I am going with this, don't you? Naruto asked rhetorically. Yes. Time spent is irrelevant to you, what matters is the bond. I get it now. Still, You haven't answered my other question. Do you no longer care about Sakura and Sasuke? Should I put Sasuke in the bingo book? Tsunade asked impatiently. To be honest, I do not know how I truly feel about Team 7 except for that I don't hate them. I've grown up, Tsunade Ba-chan, and that means that my mental and emotional intelligence has developed. I've had a long time to reflect on the past, and when I did, I realized that I don't have a real bond with Team 7 at all. It was all a one-sided attempt from me to get recognition and acknowledgement from all of them. Naruto said contemplatively. I was always the side dish. Kakashi-sensei was focused solely on Sasuke, and would push me aside at a moment's notice for the sake of Sasuke. Sakura, well, she didn't even try to hide it. It was clear and obvious to anyone with eyes and ears. Sasuke himself was happy to acknowledge me only if it meant that he remained in a superior position to me. As soon as he realized that I could possibly be stronger than him, he left the village and then tried to kill me. So how do I feel about them? I feel nothing. I do not love them, and I do not hate them. I've tried both, to love them, and to hate them, without success. It finally dawned on me that I neither love them nor hate them. However, they are fellow comrades of the Leaf, so we do at least share that bond. I would lay my life on the line for them, and I hope vice versa. Naruto replied sincerely. Even Sasuke? Tsunade asked with narrowed eyes. Well, honestly, I'm not certain. I do think he is a criminal and should be treated as such, and that I was wrong to selfishly put you in the position I put you in by asking you not to put him in the bingo books. Sasuke tried to kill me and put me in a near-death state, and his actions resulted in the same happening to Kiba, Choji, and Neji. Shikamaru would also have died if it wasn't for Tamari-chan's timely arrival. I don't hate Sasuke, I actually even sympathize with him to a certain extent, but the law is the law. If you have your own political or strategic reasons for not putting him in the bingo book, that's fine, but don't do it on my behalf. Naruto concluded his explanation. I thought you didn't abandon your friends, Naruto. I also thought that you didn't go back on a promise and that you believed that those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. Tsunade deadpanned. Weren't you listening? They were never my friends to begin with. That's a fantasy one conjured up in my mind because I was a desperate and lonely child. Besides, when did I say I'm abandoning anyone? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. You just told me to put Sasuke in the bingo book. Doesn't that mean that you're abandoning your efforts to rescue him? Tsunade asked with disgust in her tone. First of all, stop putting words in my mouth. I never said I'm abandoning anything, or breaking any promises for that matter, nor did I tell you to put Sasuke in the bingo book. Naruto countered with a calm fury. You're contradicting yourself. If you still want to rescue Sasuke, then why would you be okay with me putting him in the bingo book? Sure, you didn't tell me to put him in, but you clearly don't care one way or the other. Tsunade retorted. I'm not Sasuke's father. I'm not responsible for the choices he makes. Everyone has to be held accountable for their actions. That's why I don't care if you put him in the bingo book or not. As for rescuing him, I made no such promise. I promised to bring him back, but I never promised to rescue him. Rescue him from what? Sasuke wasn't kidnapped or abducted, he left of his own free will. Besides, knowing Sasuke, I'm willing to bet he never intended to let Orochimaru take his body and is just using him for knowledge and power. I'm willing to bet he ends up killing Orochimaru and then going after Itachi himself. It's part of the reason I'm not too concerned about his so-called rescue. If he ends up killing two of our worst criminals, where is the harm in that? Naruto asked rhetorically. You believe Sasuke is strong enough to kill both Orochimaru and Itachi by himself? Shizune asked, surprised. I think you're underestimating Sasuke tremendously. You just saw me win against Lord Raikage only a few hours ago, why would you think Sasuke hasn't improved enough to kill a sick, armless Orochimaru? Naruto asked rhetorically, both Tsunade and Shizune involuntarily widening their eyes in surprise as they hadn't thought of the situation from that perspective. Fine, But what about Itachi? Itachi is neither sick nor is he armless. Do you think Sasuke can beat him on his own? What's to say that Kisame won't interfere in their battle? Tsunade asked skeptically. He probably can't beat Itachi, although we cannot really be sure as we do not know just how strong he has become. However, that's a good thing. That's where I come in. It is to both our interests if Itachi dies. So if I offer for Team 7 to take care of Kisame for him and let him take care of Itachi, I'm sure he'll then come back willingly after Itachi is taken care of. Naruto replied. You intend to let him fight Itachi alone? Why not let Anko, Kakashi, and Sakura deal with Kisame while you help Sasuke defeat Itachi? That seems like a much better plan with a higher chance of success. Tsunade asked incredulously. Seems you don't understand anything at all, Ba-chan. Do you know why Sasuke broke ties with Team 7 and left to join Orochimaru? Think about it. What is the point of having friends and family when the person who killed your entire family can come back at any time and slaughter all of your new friends and all of your new family? Think about it. Really think about it. Naruto asked rhetorically, Tsunade looking at Naruto with a confused facial expression, not understanding what any of that had to do with her Itachi killing strategy, causing Naruto to resist the urge to release an audible sigh at the Hokage's ignorance. Sasuke has to defeat and kill Itachi with his own strength and his bare hands. It's the only way for him to overcome his trauma, and it is in fact the only logical thing to do. Sasuke believes that only when he is strong enough to kill Itachi, will he be ready to start making friends and rebuilding his clan, because if he cannot defeat the person who slaughtered the entire clan, then it means that he is incapable of protecting his loved ones and therefore incapable of preventing himself from going through that kind of trauma again. Naruto dumbed it down so that Tsunade can understand. I see. Tsunade thought with an intense facial expression, not having realized just how deep and complex Sasuke's psyche was, having really thought, up to this point, that he was only a spoiled, ungrateful brat, a traumatized spoiled and ungrateful brat, but a spoiled and ungrateful brat nonetheless. Yes, well, anyway, I believe we have covered everything for this debrief. Is it okay if I may be excused? Naruto asked, quite frankly feeling like this conversation was about to go around in circles if they carried on. You may be dismissed, yes. I'm sure you have a lot of catching up to do after being gone for 3 years. However, make sure you stay alert. The Hyuga no doubt know all about your plan now. The fact that they haven't acted yet has left me feeling anxious. We must expect any and everything and keep our guards up at all times. Tsunade said gravely, basically telling Naruto to prepare for war without outright saying it. Thank you, Tsunade no Ba-chan. You be careful too, both of you. Naruto said with an equally grave undertone, both Tsunade and Shizune nodding their heads in the affirmative. Next morning, 8:50 a.m. You stupid fox brat, you're late, Anko exclaimed angrily, pointing an accusing finger at the blonde Uzumaki as he casually walked towards the entrance of the training ground. Anko is an average-sized, young woman who has a slender and yet voluptuous frame. She has light brown, pupil-less eyes. Her violet hair is styled in a short, spiky, fanned-out ponytail. She is wearing a custom-made outfit that is crafted of thin metal mesh to fit the lines of her body, that covers her from neck to thigh. Over this, she has a tan overcoat with a purple inseam and a pocket on each side, a dark orange mini skirt, a dark blue belt, and pale gray shin guards. In addition to the typical forehead protector around her forehead, she is also wearing a small pendant that looks like a snake fang. Crazy snake lady, it's an honor to meet your acquaintance again. I'm looking forward to working side by side with you, Naruto said politely, completely ignoring Anko's outburst in the process. Are you mocking me, you little punk? You do remember what happened the last time you messed with me, don't you? Anko asked with a sinister smirk. Yes, you molested me with little bit of S&M action. While I wasn't entirely displeased with your advances, I'm afraid we cannot do that again. I'm married now, Naruto replied casually. Hey, You must have balls of steel to say something like that straight to my face. Anko said, not really sure whether to be impressed or angry at Naruto right now, as he was totally throwing her off her game, which in itself said a lot, as she was usually the one throwing people off their game, the only people ever succeeding in throwing her off her game being Orochimaru and Sandaime-sama. Unfortunately, I cannot show you proof of my balls of steel because, as I said before, I'm a happily married man. Naruto said with a mischievous smirk plastered on his facial features, hands in his pockets as he casually stood a meter away from the special Jonin. Whatever. Why the fuck are you so late anyway? We've been waiting here for almost 3 hours. Anko said in frustration. I'm surprised that there are Jonin in the village who do not know about Kakashi-sensei's notorious reputation for being late. Kakashi-sensei is always at least 3 hours late, especially for these sort of team meetings. One would think Sakura would have told you, seeing you were standing here together for 3 hours. Naruto replied. She told me about Kakashi, but she didn't know why you were late. Is this the first time you've arrived late? Anko asked curiously. It is. Naruto deadpanned. Then it's true. You're a completely different person to who you were before you went on your training trip. Anko stated as matter of fact. I like to think of myself as a smarter and mature version of who I was, as opposed to an entirely different person. Naruto countered as he leaned his back against the fence that surrounds the training ground. I see. So Tsunade-sama showed me the video of you and your wives fighting against Lord Raikage and his stooges. That was insane. Who would have thought you would be that strong in such a short space of time? Even just looking at you now compared to when you were younger, it feels like looking at an alien. Anko said, her tone laced with a hint of disbelief. Aliens aren't real, Anko-san. Naruto retorted. So you do know my name. I was starting to think that you actually thought my name was Crazy Snake Lady. Anko said with a small chuckle. It's not too late to change it. Crazy Snake Lady suits you better if you ask me. Naruto replied tauntingly. Ha, very funny. Anko retorted, rolling her eyes at the blonde Uzumaki, a comfortable silence settling between the two, although Naruto was wondering why Sakura was sulking on the side and not joining their conversation. So your wife, Tayuya, I heard she has the cursed seal of earth. Anko inquired curiously. She does. Naruto said as if it was the most unimportant thing in the world to him. You're not worried. I mean, look what that power turned Sasuke into. Anko pressed on. I'm not worried at all. There is no risk of Orochimaru's interference. I made sure of that. Naruto retorted, Anko's eyes widening in surprise, however not the only emotion she was feeling, as there was also a hint of hope in her eyes. What do you mean? What did you do? Anko asked curiously. Why do you ask? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow, even though he knew exactly why she was so curious, as he could literally sense the cursed seal on her neck despite her best attempts to have it sealed and to suppress it with her own will. No reason. Just curious. Anko lied pathetically. Well, if you have no reason to ask me, then I have no reason to answer you. Naruto said with a casual shrug of the shoulders. Okay. Fuck. I have the cursed seal, okay. I'm sure you already figured out I must have some sort of connection to Orochimaru, seeing as I use the snake summoning contract too. Well, I used to be his disciple, before he betrayed me. He gave me the cursed seal of earth before he left me to die. Anko said in both anger and frustration, Naruto able to sense a lot of pain there as well. He didn't leave you to die. Naruto retorted. What? Are you insane? What the fuck are you talking about? How the hell would you even know? You were a baby when those events occurred. Anko asked irritably, not liking at all this know-it-all side of the blonde Uzumaki. He left you alive as insurance. The reason Orochimaru can control your movements to an extent and immobilize you with the cursed seal, is because in the cursed seal, is a fragment of his soul. You see, you are his spare body in the event that he ever needs to use you to reincarnate himself. All cursed seal users are possessors in your case, since you don't actually use it, are his potential future hosts. You are essentially his life insurance. Naruto explained, Anko paling as she was overtaken by an overwhelming feeling of being violated in the worst possible way. To think that there was a piece of that lunatic inside of her, it was enough to make her nauseous. No way. I've had this seal looked over by countless experts. Jiraiya-sama, Tsunade-sama, and even Sandaime-sama. There is no way they wouldn't have known if that pedophile left a piece of his soul in me. Anko exclaimed frantically. And yet it is the case. I can literally sense him inside of you as if he were standing right next to me. It was the same for Tayuya-chan, but as I said, I took care of it. Naruto deadpanned. Idiot. Don't you see how much you're scaring her? You should think carefully about your words before you speak. Sakura exclaimed, clenching her fists as an unbridled hate and anger overtook her, thinking about outright assaulting Naruto but unable to get the image of his fight with Lord Raikage out of her mind, fear taking hold of her heart and paralyzing her body, making her unable to even move an inch in Naruto's direction despite her desire to punch him in the face with all of her might. Ah, she finally speaks. So the cat didn't catch your tongue, huh? Good. Naruto replied casually, Sakura fuming at Naruto's cavalier attitude towards her. You'll never be Sasuke-kun. You'll never be as strong as he is, you'll never be as loved as he is, and you'll never be as cool as he is. So top-tying so hard. Sakura said venomously, trying to hurt Naruto in the worst possible way as she knew how much he hated being compared to Sasuke and more importantly, how much he hated being inferior to him. Sasuke, huh? Never heard of him. I wonder who this Sasuke might be. He sure sounds like an interesting guy. Naruto said with a mock-thinking pose, Anko resisting the urge to burst into tears of laughter. Of all the possible reactions she expected, this one not being one of them at all, Sakura on the other hand turning so red with anger that it looked like steam was going to come out of her ears and nostrils. Naruto. Anyway, Anko-san, you seem to be having an issue with your pride. If you want me to help you, all you have to do is ask. Naruto offered, completely changing the topic as he had absolutely no interest in any of Sakura's uninspired insults, choosing to focus on a more progressive matter such as helping his new teammate out. Of course, even that came with its own pitfalls. Naruto, naturally, intended to eliminate Orochimaru at some point, along with his knowledge of the cursed seal. When that happened, he would be the only one remaining who knew how to make one, well, he and Tayuya that is. And then the Curse Sage mode could be a technique passed down the generations of the Neo Uzumaki clan. However, if he fixed Anko's seal, then it meant that there would be an outsider who could use the cursed seal. Naruto didn't want that, he would much rather get rid of Anko's seal completely. But then again, that too could come back to bite him in the one day because as an Akatsuki target, it was in his best interest that his teammates become as strong as possible, which meant that denying Anko the chance of such a significant power boost was the same as him calculating against himself. Maybe I should fix it instead of getting rid of it. What harm could it do? It's not like she can pass it on to her descendants, besides, Sasuke also has one too. So she wouldn't be the only outsider who had a cursed seal anyway. Naruto thought. I want you to get rid of this thing, please. Anko pleaded desperately. I can do that, but are you sure that is what you want? There is another option, you know, one where you not only get to keep it, but you get to use it at its full power, but without Orochimaru's influence. Think about it, as you are now, do you believe you have the power to defeat Orochimaru? The cursed seal could potentially make you strong enough to beat him, or at least hold your own in a fight with him. Naruto explained for Anko's sake. But mine is just a prototype. It's not like Sasuke's. Anko replied, confused. I already have a sample from my wife, remember? I know how to modify yours into a fully functional and independent cursed seal. Naruto retorted, kicking himself internally but nevertheless deciding that, with fights against Akatsuki and Orochimaru on the horizon, it was probably the best thing to do. Can I have some time to think about it? Anko asked, not really sure what to do. After all, all she had thought about for the last 13 years was how to get rid of that abomination on her neck. She had never once thought that she could actually use it to defeat Orochimaru. The option had just never been there for her, not until now. Sure, but I wouldn't take too long if I were you, Naruto said with a grave undertone. What do you mean? Anko asked furiously. You're in a team with a Jinchuriki, which means that your near future has battles against Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame in store for you, or even another different Akatsuki team that we have no intel about. Secondly, now that our team is significantly stronger, especially with me getting not only a Jonin promotion but an S ranking in the bingo books, it is likely that all missions pertaining to the retrieval of Uchiha Sasuke and the elimination of Orochimaru will be diverted to us. You will need all the power that you can get in order to survive the upcoming trials, Naruto explained for Anko's sake. I didn't really think about it like that. So that's the real reason Tsunade-sama put me in this team, because our goals are of mutual benefit to one another. Anko thought out loud. That's definitely one of the main reasons. As for the other reasons, well, I'm sure that. Naruto trailed off as Kakashi arrived via a Shunshin technique. You're late, Sakura and Anko exclaimed simultaneously, both of them pointing accusing fingers at the cycloptic ninja. Yo, Kakashi waved casually, an eye smile on his facial features that made both Anko and Sakura feel like he was mocking them. Is that any way to act after making us wait for 3 damn hours? Apologize now, or I'll make you snake food for my pets, Anko said angrily. Mama, let's not get carried away. Let's all relax, like Naruto over there, Kakashi said as he diverted all the attention to Naruto, who was the perfect picture of calm and collected, hands in his pockets and body slanted against the fence. Of course he's calm. He only got here 10 minutes ago, Sakura exclaimed furiously, causing Kakashi to narrow his lone visible eye at Naruto. No need to get heated, Sakura. You shouldn't really care either when Kakashi-sensei arrives. The only reason it vexed me so much 3 years ago was because I wanted to train and get stronger. As you can imagine, it frustrated me that Kakashi-sensei was gallivanting about while my progress was being stalled. However, you have become so much stronger after getting yourself a new master, the Hokage herself of all people, and I'm an S-ranked ninja now. So really, does it matter when Kakashi-sensei decides to show up? We don't actually need him anymore, Naruto said with such a cavalier tone despite how deep his words were slicing through Kakashi, a deathly silence taking hold of the training ground as the tension built up to an all-time high, even Sakura taken aback by Naruto's brutal but factual assessment. Quote, Ma, things have gotten so tense all of sudden. Naruto, individual strength is important, yes, but nothing beats teamwork. We all need each other. You can't very well beat both Itachi and Kisame on your own now, can you? Kakashi asked rhetorically. That's a very presumptuous statement, sensei. Who says that I cannot defeat the both of them? Do you know that with certainty? How can you know that, when you haven't even seen everything that I can do? Naruto asked curiously, again, tension building up as Kakashi was left at a loss for words, remembering that Naruto and his wives had shown both immunity to genjutsu, which is how Itachi took him down, and the speed to potentially evade an Amaterasu. That's not all though. Elite Kenjutsu and Taijutsu are the requirements to defeat Hoshigaki Kisame, and he has proven his abilities in both when he fought Lord Raikage. But still, taking on both of those monsters at the same time. Is it really possible? Kakashi thought skeptically. Fair enough. You have shown the qualities to potentially defeat either one of them, but that doesn't mean you can defeat them at the same time. You must also remember that we do not know everything they can do either. You need teammates, Naruto. Even the Hokage has an elite guard to support her, Kakashi chastised. Fair enough. So, what are we doing today, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked curiously, wanting to move on from this conversation as it was getting him nowhere pretty fast. After all, he was already in a team, so what was the point of debating whether he needed one or not? Unfortunately, Kakashi was unable to answer Naruto's question as an Anbu operative arrived via Shunshin, a female Anbu with long purple hair and a cat mask. Naruto recognizing her as one of the Anbu that he had caught with his fox tails when they tried to attack him at the Hokage's office the previous day. Hatake Kakashi-san, I have been ordered to inform you that Lord Kazekage has been captured by the Akatsuki. Your immediate presence, along with your team, is requested by Godime-sama in her office. The cat-masked Anbu delivered her report, Naruto's eyes widening in horror as he couldn't believe what he had just heard. What? How did this happen? When did it happen? Naruto asked in disbelief, knowing better than anyone just how strong and talented Gaara was. Granted, he hadn't seen the guy in 3 years, but Naruto could only imagine just how much more powerful he must have become over the years, a guy of his talent and work ethic. Even more confusing to Naruto was how Akatsuki could have attacked him at all, as cages usually do not leave their villages. With the backup of the entire Suna shinobi force, surely Gaara should have been able to take down the 2 Akatsuki that were sent after him, no matter who they were. It happened last night at around 10 p.m. Nevertheless, Hokage-sama has demanded your presence. I'm sure you'll find out more from her. The Anbu operative retorted. That's just over 11 hours ago, almost half a day. They sure have fast messenger birds, thank goodness. Still, how much distance will Akatsuki have covered by the time we get there? Naruto thought warily. Everyone, to the Hokage Tower. Now, Kakashi ordered as he disappeared from sight, Sakura, Anko, and Naruto also following behind him along with the Anbu operative as they rushed to the Hokage Tower, Naruto already playing multiple possible scenarios in his mind as he thought about the best method to handle this business. Short while later, Hokage Tower. Naruto-kun. Fu trailed off when she saw Naruto and his team enter the office, a look of shame on her facial features as she tried to avoid eye contact with her husband, Naruto confused by the weird reaction from her as he wondered what the hell was happening, especially since Tayuya was also acting the same way. Fu-chan, what's going on? Why are you acting weird? I'm sensing weird vibes from you and Tayuya-chan. Naruto asked, confused. That's because I have dispatched Team 15 to act as aid for Sunagaku no Sato. Team 15, consisting of Yamato, Uzumaki Tayuya, Uzumaki Fu, and Kato Shizune will head to Sunagaku and aid them in the retrieval of the Kazekage. Tsunade replied with an deadly edge to her tone, a tone that was clearly meant to intimidate Naruto, without any success of course. Naruto looking around and noticing that Shizune was no longer wearing her trademark kimono outfit but was wearing the full Konoha Jonin uniform, which she often did when she was going out on the field. That's all well and good, though I fail to see why that would cause my beloved wives to act so strangely towards me. Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. It's because you and your team are not going. You're staying right here, Tsunade said, Naruto's eyes narrowing in confusion as he wondered if Tsunade had absolutely lost her mind. Excuse me, Naruto asked incredulously. Don't give me that. Sunagaku was just attacked by Akatsuki. What's to say Konoha is not next on their agenda? We cannot send all of our best shinobi out on a wild goose chase and leave ourselves vulnerable, and we cannot have you and Fu in the same place because that would draw too many Akatsuki members to your location. You and your team will remain behind as the last line of defense should Akatsuki attack Konoha. Tsunade ordered. But that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Akatsuki only attacked Suna in order to get Lord Kazekage. Keeping me inside the village doesn't protect the village from the Akatsuki. In fact, it does the opposite, as it will only draw them towards Konoha. It's better if I'm. You're not Hokage yet. I am the Hokage. And I have given my orders. Team 15 will head to Sunagaku, and you will remain here. That's final, Tsunade said uncompromisingly. You can't do this. Lord Kazekage is my brother. What kind of brother would I be if I don't even attempt to rescue him from Akatsuki? What will he think of me if he found out I chose to hide behind the walls of Konoha instead of doing everything I can to save him? Naruto asked incredulously. What kind of brother would ask you to get yourself killed for his sake? Tsunade countered. I'm not going to get myself killed. And if you believe that, doesn't that mean that you're sending my wives to get killed? Naruto asked angrily. Enough. If you continue to display this unprofessional and criminal act of insubordination, I will have you confined and imprisoned. Tsunade said angrily, Naruto fuming on the inside, barely able to keep himself from exploding. How dare Tsunade Ba-chan do this to him? How dare she do this to Gaara? Damn it. What the hell is she thinking? Has she gone mad? Naruto thought angrily. Naruto, this might not be a bad idea. Akatsuki are probably expecting Konoha to send Team 7 after Lord Kazekage, but they won't be expecting Team 15. The element of surprise can sometimes be the deciding factor in battles of this magnitude. Kakashi said in an attempt to calm Naruto down. Quote, do you at least have any intel on these particular Akatsuki fiends? I don't want my wives and Shizune-chan going in blind against Akatsuki of all people. Naruto asked, finally able to calm himself down, although there was still a noticeable edge to his tone. Only one of them. Apparently he was able to animate explosive clay and conform it into different shapes and sizes. He used mostly birds in his fight against Gaara. Tsunade retorted. Explosive clay bombs. And he can make birds of different sizes, meaning that like Kazekage-sama, he has the ability to fly and fight at long range. Sand versus explosive clay. Sounds like he was the perfect match for Kazekage-sama. The Akatsuki are well prepared. Naruto thought out loud. So are we. Fu and Tayuya can fly and they can fight at both close and long range. Yamato is also good at long and mid-range and Shizune is one of the best medical ninja in the village. Our team is perfect for this mission. Tsunade emphasized, wanting to make sure that Naruto understood that she had thought things through and wasn't just doing this to piss him off. Besides, you have to stay here and take care of the Hyuga issue that you created. The Hyuga have yet to respond, which quite honestly has me feeling nervous. You need to be here, in the village, when they do. You must help me to deal with them, after all, this is a problem you created. So if you're looking for someone to blame, look in the mirror. Tsunade said harshly. What? That's why she won't let me go. That's crazy. You mean to tell me my attempt to save a friend from enslavement is the reason I'm not allowed to save another from being kidnapped and killed? Can fate really be that much of a bitch? Naruto thought incredulously. Fine, I'll stay. Naruto said with resignation. Why you will? Tsunade stuttered, surprised it was that easy to convince Naruto to stay as honestly she had expected far more resistance than that. Yeah, why do you sound so surprised? Naruto asked incredulously. The real Naruto would never have given up on saving a friend. Sakura said venomously, Naruto resisting the urge to roll his eyes as he knew that this outburst was more about Sasuke than it was about Gaara. And what's this about the real Naruto? Naruto thought with a mental shake of the head. Well, if you were married, you would know that married people sometimes share and delegate responsibilities, and they trust each other to carry the weight when the other is unable to. Any further protest from me would be to disrespect Fu-chan and Yuya-chan. I trust them to take care of the job and safely retrieve Lord Kazekage. Naruto responded, causing Sakura to grit her teeth in anger, infuriated by the fact that not only was Naruto married of all things, but the fact that he was literally rubbing it at her face. Really? What's next? You going to let your wives fulfill your empty promises too? Sounds like the makings of a deadbeat husband to me. Sakura retorted. Outsiders shouldn't interfere in the affairs of married people, Sakura. Surely, as someone raised by two happily married people, you should know better. Naruto countered. That's enough. This is completely unprofessional. If you have any internal grievances between each other, then sort them out between yourselves and your team. I have far more pressing issues to deal with. Don't waste my time, Tsunade exclaimed angrily. Quote. And Team 15, what are you still doing here? Stop dawdling and go rescue Lord Kazekage. Now, Tsunade ordered angrily. Hi, Hokage-sama. The team saluted as they all simultaneously disappeared via Shunshin, leaving Team 7 behind to deal with the agitated Hokage, Fu and Tayuya not even getting the chance to say their goodbyes to Naruto because of not only the urgency and gravity of the situation, but also because they didn't want to further anger and agitate the Hokage. As for you, Team 7, you're needed here, so stay put until I say otherwise. Understand? Tsunade said with a grave undertone, directing a piercing stare at each and every one of them, but one that lingered especially on Naruto. As you command, Godime-sama. Kakashi saluted on behalf of his team, everyone else nodding their heads in the affirmative. Good, now get out of my sight. Tsunade said irritably, the team quickly getting the hell out of the office as they didn't want to have to deal with the Hokage's rage any more than they had to. Later. Back at Training Ground 7. So, it looks like you guys have lost your motivation. Initially I intended to do the bell test with you guys, but I guess you're not in the right frame of mind after hearing the recent news about Sabaku no Gaara. Kakashi said, his lone visible eye zeroing in on Naruto in particular, whose mind seemed to be anywhere else but there. I think you mean Kazekage-sama. Naruto said with an edge to his tone, not liking the fact that Kakashi and Tsunade for that matter were not using the appropriate respectful term when referring to his friend. Dead silence taking the training ground by the scruff of the neck as both Anko and Sakura warily switched glances between Kakashi and Naruto as the two shinobi, student and sensei, became locked in a staring match. Ma, please forgive me, Naruto. Sometimes I forget that he is Kazekage. After all, I don't think anyone in the history of the elemental nations has ever become Kage at the age of 14 like he did. Kakashi retorted. Your excuse is unacceptable. You knew exactly what you were doing. Just because he achieved something you could never have hoped to achieve at his age doesn't mean that you get to disrespect him. He earned that position by virtue of both his talent and his hard work. You have no right to treat him otherwise. Naruto pressed on, eliciting another deathly silence in the training ground, although this one didn't last long as Sakura couldn't contain her anger any longer. Naruto. That's enough. You don't get to talk like that to Kakashi-sensei either. He's your superior officer. Sakura exclaimed angrily, clenching her fists as her temper began to reach boiling point. Fair enough, but that's true for you too. I'm an elite Jonin of Kumogakure no Sato, acknowledged by Lord Raikage and Lady Hokage herself, and you're just a Chunin. Remember that next time you address me. Naruto said mercilessly. After all, if she had such a problem with him addressing their captain like that, then she, a Chunin, should take her own advice and not address him like an equal. Sakura turning completely red with both embarrassment and anger, looking like steam was going to explode from her ears. Ahem. Anyway, you were saying something about the bell test, Kakashi Taicho. Anko asked curiously, trying to change completely the topic so as to diffuse the tension before people started throwing jutsu at each other. Hee. Yes, well, it doesn't look like Naruto is up for it. Kakashi replied, laughing sheepishly as he scratched the back of his neck. Just out of curiosity, are you that stupid or that arrogant? Do you really think you can hold off all three of us and prevent us from taking the bells from you? Anko asked with a little venom on her tongue, just dying to put Kakashi in his place for daring to underestimate her and treating her like some wet behind the ears genin. Well, actually, my plan was that the three of us would try to get the bells from Naruto. Kakashi retorted, much to everyone's shock, Anko and Sakura's eyes involuntarily widening in surprise while Naruto raised an eyebrow at Kakashi. Ma, don't act so surprised. You all saw Naruto's fight with Raikage-sama, didn't you? Naruto is now not only a Jonin-level ninja but a Kage-level ninja if we are to go by the events that occurred in Kumo. In order for us to level up too, we need to know what it means to go up against an S-level ninja. That will also help us level up for our inevitable battles against Akatsuki. Kakashi explained. He really knows how to play on a person's ego, doesn't he? He attacks my ego first by insinuating that I would want to avoid this exercise because of my mental state, and then he strokes it by complementing my skills and abilities so that I lose face if I pull out. That's not all, however, because in the same breath, he is also stimulating envy, jealousy, and competitiveness in Anko-san and Sakura. Oh well, I guess I'll just have to accept his challenge, but I wouldn't be the great Uzumaki Naruto if I didn't ramp things up. Naruto thought with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Forget about the bell test, Kakashi-sensei. That would be too easy for me. You would never be able to get past my Rasen Chakra no Yoroi, and I'm immune to genjutsu and any sleeping or poisonous toxins. I'm also never running out of chakra before any of you, so wearing me out would not work either. The bell test is essentially an impossible task for any of you. However, I do have a different and more effective test for you. Naruto replied matter-of-factly, irritating, well, everyone with his brutal assessment but none of them able to dispute what Naruto said, well, except Kakashi of course, as he felt like his new jutsu, Kamui, could potentially get him the bells with one move, well, more like get them away from Naruto really, as he too would not be able to get them back from literally another dimension that he couldn't freely access. What do you have in mind, Naruto? Kakashi asked curiously. Wait a minute, are you just going to accept that? Kakashi-sensei. That's bullshit. I have mastered Tsunade-sama's super strength technique and you have the Reikiri that can pierce through anything. You can pierce his chakra armor and I can overpower him with my strength. Sakura argued. That presupposes that you are in fact stronger than him, Sakura. We don't know that for a fact. As for Kakashi Taicho's Reikiri, we also don't know if it can pierce his armor or not. That armor is basically a full-body Rasengan. If anything can resist Kakashi Taicho's Reikiri, it would be that armor. Finally, there is the matter of speed. Naruto is officially the fastest man in the world, his speeds are comparable to the Yellow Flash. You both would have to be able to touch him first before you can even find out the answers to those questions. Anko explained, pausing slightly to let Sakura digest the info before carrying on from where she left off. Furthermore, Naruto can freaking fly. What are we going to do if he just decides to fly out of the range of our attacks? Can you punch him when he's up there in the atmosphere? Can Kakashi-san Reikiri him from way up there? The bell test means he has to prevent us from getting the bells, which means he doesn't have to even fight us. All he has to do is make sure we don't get close to him or the bells. Anko explained, Sakura realizing that the situation was a lot more complicated than she initially thought, and that Naruto was a lot stronger and difficult to contend with than she could have ever imagined. The Akatsuki who defeated Lord Kazekage, is also said to be a long-range fighter who can fly, which is probably one of the reasons why Tsunade-sama sent a team with 2 flying shinobi as opposed to a team with 1 flying shinobi, probably in case both members of that Akatsuki team can fly. Kakashi added. It could have been a team with 3 flying ninja if Tsunade-sama didn't unreasonably remove me from the team. Naruto thought irritably. So, now the question is, what sort of test can we do? Clearly, as we are right now, we are not equipped to deal with a flying shinobi. We need a test that restricts Naruto but without making the test irrelevant, and clearly, we have a lot of improving to do if his superiority is anything to go by. Anko asked, Sakura gritting her teeth in anger as her pride didn't want to allow her to accept that Naruto was so far ahead of her despite how much she had improved over the last 3 years, but at the same time unable to ignore the reality that was being shoved right down her throat. Well, Naruto seems to have some sort of idea. Kakashi said as he looked at Naruto curiously. Simple, you have to defeat me. If I use my chakra armor, my ability to fly, or my Shunpo no Jutsu, then I lose. If I use any other jutsu, even my shadow clone jutsu, then I lose. I am only allowed to use my sword and the abilities of my sword. That is to say, only taijutsu and kenjutsu. You have 24 hours to find a way to beat me. Naruto said with a mischievous smirk, disappearing from sight via a super fast shunshin as he impromptu began the test before anyone could protest, quickly finding a hiding spot in the forest that he was very familiar with despite not being around for the last 3 years. This is great. This test inadvertently provided me with an easy way to escape the village without anyone being any wiser. Just you hold on, Gaara. I'm coming for you, Naruto thought with determination as he pulled out a scroll with the kanji for reinforced on it, channeling chakra into the seal in order to activate it before immediately teleporting the seal away with the Hiraishin no jutsu.